Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to today's episode of Locked On Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. My name is Nick Bondi. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Bondi. I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Lachlan. You can follow him on Twitter at Lock in the Crease. He has his own blog, Lock in the Crease, as well. And he has another podcast with his other partner, the Crease Cast. Lachlan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm wearing my The Flow shirt, which I got a few years ago that they were selling on the internet, and I'm wearing that in the hopes that I can manifest Brock Besser coming back into the lineup today. They could have used him on Wednesday against the Oilers,
especially on the power play.
Especially on the power play, and you would like to hope that today against Philadelphia that he might come back.
Yeah. So today is a bit of a weekend preview episode. On today, Friday, October 15th, we'll be previewing tonight's game against the Philadelphia Flyers, Saturday's game against the Detroit Red Wings, and we'll get into a bit of the expectations for Philadelphia and Detroit relative to the Vancouver Canucks. Are these going to be two easy dubs? Well, you're going to find out. So tonight's game against the Philadelphia Flyers, 4 o'clock local time here in Vancouver. This is the first game for Philadelphia this season. This is going to be their home opener. For that reason, this may be a bit of a tricky game for the Canucks. You know, we saw last night, a lot of the teams with their home openers did pretty well. I mean, Columbus spanked Arizona 8-2. Arizona's probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league, so I'm not surprised there. But Buffalo won. You know, LA won against Vegas. Detroit had a 6-3 lead, absolutely collapsed. Just absolutely collapsed versus Tampa Bay. So they played pretty well. All things scored 6 goals against Tampa. That's pretty good. But we'll get into Detroit a bit later. Yeah, tonight, the very first game for the Philadelphia Flyers, Carter Hart looking for a bounce back year because I call this guy Lachlan Carter Fart because last year this guy stunk. He was terrible last year. Not nearly the goalie he was in 2019, 2020. He was looking, one of the best goalies, one of the best future goalies in the league. A lot of changes for the Flyers as well, Lachlan. Ryan Ellis, remember him from the Nashville Predators? He got traded to Philadelphia over the offseason. Cam Atkinson from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Rasmus Ristolainen. They traded like a top 15 pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. Crazy. A lot of changes for the Philadelphia Flyers. And, of course, our good friend, Zach McEwen, claimed off waivers from the Vancouver Canucks a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if he'll play tonight. Lachlan, what are you expecting from tonight's game against the Philadelphia Flyers?
Well, first of all, I'm expecting to see some really great antics from Gritty. It's the season opener, so I'm sure
he's going to be on his game tonight.
We're going to get the full Gritty show, which I don't think we've gotten really in a while, like in Vancouver, at least like with because I'm trying to think back to the last time the Canucks played the Flyers. I think he was still relatively new when they last played in Philly. So we're going to get the full experience of that today. But more importantly, the team on the ice is going to be really different for the Flyers this year. I mean, yeah, they lost Jakub Voracek. They traded Shane Gostisbehere, Nolan Patrick as well, who was a former second overall pick that had some injury issues, and now he's off to Vegas. The Flyers are a team that really believe that they're a playoff group and that they're like a cup contender, and they've been like that every single year. They're a lot like the Canucks in the sense of like the way that their management teams are always given this incentive, mandate that
they always want to go for it.
They always want to go for it. Like, I don't think I can't remember the last time the Flyers realistically like rebuilt, like went for like the full rebuild. I don't think they have in a very long time. And it's come at mixed results. They were the division winner, the Metropolitan Division winners 2 years ago. Last year they completely missed the playoffs. This is a group that is very, again, much like the Canucks, very much reliant on their goaltending. for a long time it's been a struggle. Carter Hart again had a mirror image of those 2 seasons where he was incredible the first time around, an absolute just stud in the net
Yeah.
for them
Again,
all
Carter
season.
Hart.
And then the next year, it fell apart for him. I think that Carter Hart is a better goaltender than last year indicates. It's just a matter of the Flyers making sure he's getting the right goalie coaching, and the right putting the right mentality, because without the right coaching, obviously things can go south pretty quick. And if you're having a rough time, you need a coach who can bring you back, specifically mentally, like making sure that you're staying even keeled during the season, even when the going gets tough. And hopefully the Flyers have that in Carter Hart this year. And I'm very excited to see kind of that matchup between him and Thatcher Demko, a bit of a rematch from World Juniors past.
Yeah, that should be one of the better matchups to watch in this game. Did you not like my Carter Fart nickname, or is that too juvenile for you?
It's it's a little juvenile for my taste. It's a little bit.
It's all right. It takes some getting used to. Yeah, but like Carter Hart, I think the situation with Carter Hart is he as good as is he going to be as good a goalie as he looked at that 1920 season, where everyone's thinking, oh, this is the next Carey Price, right? Like super young goalie coming in, and he's going to be a starter for the Flyers for the next 13 years or whatever. Probably not. But is he as bad as last year? I don't think so either. Like for a lot of things, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right, Lachlan?
Yeah, and you mentioned Carey Price, and that's actually a really great example of a guy who had a really great first season in the NHL and then had a really bad next one. Like he lost the next 2 years.
He
for
almost
Carey
lost
Price.
his job permanently to Yar Halak. That's a big sliding doors NHL moment. What
Exactly.
happens if the Canadians keep Halak over Price, right?
Yeah, that was a total fork in the road decision, and the Habs chose to stick with the younger guy. They made the right call in that case, because look at Carey Price. The last however many years, he turned into a Vezina winner, a Hart Trophy winner, one of the best goalies in the NHL. And so, yeah, I think that Carey Price is a good, maybe expecting Carter Hart to become the next Carey Price is asking a lot, because it's like any player comparison. It's a lot of pressure to put on a kid. But I do think it is entirely possible that Carter Hart is better than last year let on. I think, again, it's about making sure you have the right stabilization in place for him, and the right people there to like keep him in check when the pucks aren't bouncing his way. Because sometimes that can really mess things up. Just look at like Martin Jones, who's now the backup for Carter Hart now. He's a guy that I think for a long time did not necessarily get enough of that support in San Jose, and that's why things went badly so quick for him. And then talking about the whole fork in the road, Jarl Halak now the backup goalie for the Canucks. It all comes full circle.
Yeah, no, it really does. And I find it hilarious that the Flyers decided to bring in Martin Jones to kind of platoon with Carter Hart. Did they not stay up and watch San Jose Sharks games the past couple of seasons? I called Carter Hart Carter Fart. I wish I could come up with something clever for Martin Jones, because this guy really stunk the last couple of years. Like, good Lord, like he was terrible. He was one of the worst starters in the league.
Yeah, I had so much faith in Martin Jones as a goaltender. I honestly believe that with better coaching, maybe he's not incredible, but I think he's at least a little bit more even keeled. That San Jose contract that he signed probably looks a lot more okay right now than it does. I think it's just been a rough go for him. I don't know exactly what Philly's goalie coaching situation is like, what they've been running with, but I know for a long time, since basically Ron Hextall was in net, they've had a very hard time keeping goaltenders comfortable in Philly, which is interesting.
Sorry, Lachlan. The Canucks used to be called the goalie graveyard until they got Luongo. Now, the situation, they've always seemed to have, a decent starter between the pipes. Philly's really a goalie graveyard. They have not had a decent starting goalie. And that's why I think Carter Hart really got hyped for that in that 2019-20, because it looked like he was the guy going to break the curse. And now that's very much up in the air.
Yeah, it's the closest. It's the closest they've come, especially because sometimes people think that that's just indicative of the whole team. But like then you look at teams like say like Florida, for example, like the Panthers. Even in their worst years, they somehow got a lot of very good goaltenders to come through and play really well for them, even if they didn't always have the best team in front of that goalie. And so it really can change completely based on just having the right coaching and the right staff around them to make something happen for them. I think Carter Hart can do it. I do think that right now, if we're looking at the goalie matchup, Thatcher Demko is going to get the edge here because of how well he's played over the last year or so. But I am very interested to see that goalie battle between like two of the young goaltenders in the NHL and seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I very much expect Thatcher Demko to start tonight against the Flyers and Yaro Halak to probably start Saturday against the Red Wings, right? And the Red Wings, on paper, at least, seem like the easier matchup. But the Flyers, I mean, they have a really good first line. It's very similar. There's a lot of similarities, now that I'm thinking about it, between the Canucks and Flyers. Like the Canucks have, they have a bit more forward depth, but, in the past, they've had one really good line and questionable depth. I see the same thing with the Flyers, right? Like they have one really good top line. And the forward depth that behind that there's question marks.
Yeah, that first line of Sean Couturier, Claude Giroux, and Travis Konechny, that's a very good first line. But then you get very quickly down to like that fourth line of Nate Thompson, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, and Maxwell Willman, who I think is a rookie. Yeah, it's a lot more question. There's a lot more question marks down there. I think on defense as well. I think the Flyers are definitely a little better than the Canucks. They're a little better off. I don't know if they necessarily have a Quinn Hughes on that blue line right now. I guess Ivan Provorov is kind of the closest to that. Maybe Ryan Ellis if you want to, if we're not considering age as a factor here. But I think the Flyers are definitely more solid right now on defense, but even then it's not at its best. It's still a little bit more of a hope and see what they can do from the Philly defense.
Yeah, and if I'm going to grade this matchup from a Canucks perspective, I give the Canucks the edge in forward depth. I give the Flyers the edge in defensive depth, and I would give Canucks the edge in goaltending. In terms of special teams, too early to say which team has an advantage there. There's only been one game played for the Canucks. Obviously, Flyers haven't played a game at all this season, so we don't really know what to expect there. But this will be an interesting test again for the Canucks again. This is the first home opener for the Philadelphia Flyers, first game for them. They're going to come out jacked and playing in front of a full crowd for the first time in however long. So it's going to be this will be a tough game for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't expect the Flyers to just roll over.
Yeah, this is a great test for Vancouver. This is a very even matchup between these two teams, in my opinion. I think they're two teams that both believe they're much better than they've shown than they showed last season. They're two teams that really want to prove that they have playoff potential again. And yeah, I think this is as even a matchup as you're going to get in an East-West situation here, where it's two teams from completely different divisions and completely different conferences playing each other. This is a very good this is going to be a very good way to grade how each team is looking going into the season.
Yeah, and the Flyers, I have to admit, have one of the best home jerseys in the NHL. It's something about that orange that just there's something about that orange just pops on TV that makes it look real clean.
You know what it is? It's unique. It's like there's no other team that pulls off orange like that. And
it's the orange and it's the white nameplate. It's the white nameplate on the back.
Yeah, it's a very clean, crisp. It's vintage, but not but still modern. Like it's got a good mixture of modern and vintage in there, and I think that's really good. So yeah, I would definitely agree with you. Like there's a reason the Flyers haven't changed their logo ever in their franchise history because they nailed it on the first try.
Yeah, they got it. It's going to be a good jersey matchup, I think, tonight. I like the Canucks road jerseys, and I really like the Flyers home jersey. So we're about to talk about Saturday's game against the Detroit Red Wings. But before we do that, a quick word from our sponsor, Built Bar. Did you know Built Bar has so many delicious flavors. There is something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their faves. They have flavors like coconut, cherry barcia, mint brownie, classic flavors like strawberry, orange, cookies and cream. I'm a classic flavor guy. I like the strawberry. I like the orange. If you haven't tried all the flavors, don't worry. You can get a mix box where you'll get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they're very healthy for you too. 17, 18 grams of protein, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar. Order today and get the grasshopper cookie or raspberry or whatever you like. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. So tomorrow, the Vancouver Canucks will be playing the Detroit Red Wings on the second half of a back-to-back. Second half of back-to-back, always tricky for any road team. We mentioned it earlier. I expect Jaro Halak to get this start. It is the easier one on paper, but Detroit, they came out feisty last night in their home opener against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, they were up 6-3, but it's Detroit. They're a rebuilding team, kind of young in that regard, kind of lacking talent in that regard, I guess. Collapsed, lost 7-6 in overtime against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thanks to our friends at BetOnline AG, I managed to bet on the Tampa Bay Lightning when they were down 2-0. I wish I had waited until they were down 6-3. I could have got some better odds. Could have got some better odds there for sure. But you know what?
You might be living in a mansion right now if you had done that.
Yeah, well, I only put $5 on it, so I wasn't breaking the bank to bet on a team down 2-0. Even if it is the Tampa Bay Lightning, I gotta be realistic about these things. But I know you didn't like the Carter Fart juvenile nickname. Were you ready for my juvenile nickname on Detroit?
Oh no! I'm very scared, but okay, here we go.
They're the toilet dead things.
You tried too hard. You tried too hard on the Dead Wings one. That's a classic. That's been around
Dead
forever.
Things.
Dead Things.
Let's switch it up a bit.
Okay.
The toilet dead things. Not a fan.
The toilet that you tried a little too hard.
Yeah.
It's got to be more. It's got to be a little less more succinct. That's my note. That's my note.
Okay. All right. We can just call them the dead things then.
The Dead Things works. Look, the Red Wings have been in this rebuild for about 4-5 years now. It's been a while. They've gone through 2 GMs at this point. Ken Holland's now in Edmonton, and Steve Yzerman is doing his thing in Detroit right now. This is like you mentioned, like the fact of the matter is, like, yeah, they lost yesterday. They gave up 4 pretty quick goals to the Lightning, but at the same time, they still scored 6. Like, you still to lose a game 7-6, you still have to score 6 goals, and that's more than I would have expected out of the Red Wings against the defending Stanley Cup champions at all. Yeah. So that's impressive. The things that are worth noting now about them and what we're probably going to see going into the Saturday game is one play in the second period. Matthew Joseph kind of made a hit on Dylan Larkin, a little bit of a very questionable hit, I would say, a little bit low, right in puts Larkin head first into the boards. Larkin gets up as Joseph is skating away and just sucker punches him with the glove as well. With a glove, he just sucker punches him mid play, and he was given a match penalty for that. And Department of Player Safety announced today he's going to have a hearing for it. So the Red Wings might be without their captain in this game against the Canucks as well. So that throws a huge wrench in for the Red Wings. And they do have Tyler Bertuzzi, because this is a game in the States. If this were in Vancouver, they would not have him and the 4 goals he scored yesterday. So if you're the Red Wings, you're going to be leaning on the guy who won't get vaccinated and hoping that he actually makes up for the fact that
that's why he scored 4 goals, Lachlan. No one wants to get near him.
Yeah, no one wants to get. Yeah. And no one wants to get near him. And I think it was Thomas Drance who tweeted out something like the Lightning outshot the Red Wings by double plus the 2 shots that Bertuzzi won't get. So which is accurate, and he deserves to be mocked for that. You won't. But yeah, the Red Wings are very much a team that's it's basically any win they get is house money. Like, they're just kind of there. If they can surprise you, they're going to be happy with the result. Like, they didn't even seem all too crushed about losing yesterday, even though because of how like they were talking mostly about like the crowd being into it. They were talking about, scoring 6 goals. Like they were having fun in their own way. I think if you're Vancouver, the biggest thing for you is to not underestimate them. That's your biggest key to winning. And I remember the last time they went to Detroit, they kind of underestimated the Red Wings a bit. They got down 3-0. And then Bo Horvat just turned on the Jets in like the third period and scored a hat trick, and they won 5-3. So that's the goal here for Vancouver is do not underestimate the Red Wings by any stretch. They have Alex Nedeljkovic in goal now, which is again, somebody who the Hurricanes should have prioritized signing. The Red Wings gone for dirt cheap. And but he is now under a lot more pressure now than he was in Carolina because he's not in front of a great defense. He's not in front of a top-notch forward group. He has to be the backbone 100% of the time. So you got to try and force shots to him early. You want to try to put the fear in there a little bit.
Yeah, last night was a big time moral victory for the Detroit Red Wings. It got up 6-3. Obviously, they managed to lose in overtime 7-6, but that's a moral victory in the sense you could hang around with the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, right? For a rebuilding team like that, that's huge. That gives you confidence heading into your next game, which is against the Vancouver Canucks. Lachlan, are we ready to talk about our favorite player, or Canucks Twitter favorite player, Troy Stecher, being a healthy scratch last night for Detroit? Are we ready to talk about that?
Yes, we are, because I'm looking at that defense and I don't know. I don't really see why he can't be on there. I don't like Philip Hronek, Moritz Seider, who I believe is like one of their like big draft picks from a recent year.
Top 10 pick in 2019.
That's right. Okay. And then I don't know who Gustav Lindstrom is. He's I guess a newer guy. But I think Troy Stecher is a good defenseman. He's a good stay-at-home defenseman. He's a bottom pairing guy, maybe second in a pinch on the right team. So I don't fully know what Detroit's doing there. Maybe I'm seeing something different, but I'll say this. If you're Vancouver, you're looking at the fact that Troy Stecher's in the press box and you're like, if only we needed right shot defensemen, right?
I don't think Jim Benning cares at this point, Lachlan. Sorry to burst your bubble. I think he's moved on.
He's moved on for sure, which is kind of wild. Again,
which is maybe part of the problem.
It is part of the problem. It is. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have Troy Stecher on the contract he's got than Tucker Poolman at $3 million a year.
You're not a fan of the Pool man. He had a good game against Edmonton. The Pool man. Pool's closed.
He did okay.
Cole McDavid. Pool's closed. Get out of here. Yeah. Go home.
You're not. No splash for you. He actually looked okay. Tucker Poolman looked okay in the last game. But again, you just look at the fact that they don't have as much depth down there, and you're hoping and you're wishing that you had a little bit. You maybe didn't let go of some of those guys, especially like the cheaper guys like Troy Stecher, the homegrown products. But yeah, I think this is another case where it's like the blue line. This is maybe one of the few games where the Canucks blue line is actually looking a little bit better than the one they're going to be playing against. So, this is your opportunity. Make it count, right?
Yeah, and overall, I think in this game coming up against Detroit, it is, don't underestimate these guys. Don't do what Tampa Bay did and think you're going to coast to an easy victory, because I don't think the Canucks have the firepower and the depth like Tampa Bay does, where they could be down 3 goals in a game and just turn on the Jets and come back and win it at overtime. I know we mentioned they were down 3 goals last time they faced Detroit, but Detroit was very, very bad back then. They were gunning for the first overall pick. I think they're still a rebuilding team, but I don't think they're the doldrums of the NHL bad this season. That's reserved for the Buffaloes and the Arizonas, right? Like it's a 2-horse race in that regard. But Detroit's, they're starting to get better. And I think for the Vancouver Canucks, it's imperative that you don't underestimate these guys, especially on the second half of a back-to-back.
Yeah. Although speaking of Buffalo, they won 5-1 yesterday against Montreal. So it's
8-2-0.
It's anybody. Yeah, 82-0. It's anybody's game. We'll see. Yeah, I think the Red Wings. Yeah, the Red Wings are definitely back on the way up. Like with a big asterisk in the fact that they just got such a long way to go before they're have any sort of playoff potential again. Um, but they're at least a team that's going to again catch people off guard, and that comes down to how willing are you to not underestimate them and not just try and coast your way through the game. Knowing the Canucks and the fact that they are without a win so far this season, I would imagine that they're probably not going to that's probably not a huge worry for them. Like again, that could change depending on the Flyers game, but I think they'll probably be pretty alert because it's so early in the season and they want to put a few wins on the board before they get back to Vancouver in a couple weeks. So I think you'll see them come in and play a good game there.
Yeah, so the Vancouver Canucks have expectations this year, so especially the Philadelphia Flyers. Not so much to Detroit, but certain expectations. And we'll get into all the expectations of all these teams. But first, a word from BetOnline. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. With a new updated site interface and more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football and hockey. They got tons of great hockey bets on there as well. Head to the website or use our mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. For football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet online, where the game starts. Okay, so this weekend, obviously the game against the Flyers, the games against Detroit. And Lachlan, I'm going to ask you just a simple question right off the bat. What constitutes a successful weekend for the Vancouver Canucks, besides obviously just winning both games and getting 4 points? We'll qualify it that way.
I think the most important thing I want to see from this Canucks team is specifically how well they keep their goaltenders. They stabilize their own end. I want to see these are two teams with forward groups that are not necessarily the strongest in the NHL. The Flyers more so than the Red Wings, but they all have their weapons. They both have their weapons, and I want to be able to see that that both the forwards and the defense are able to neutralize them well in their own zone. I want to see them play a good defensive game. Obviously not taking that at the cost of putting pucks in the net, but of course, yeah, just making sure that, Thatcher Demko or Jarl Halak isn't having to do all the work. You want to make sure that you're keeping the shots to the outside. You're not letting easy tap-ins like Jesse Puljujarvi had in that first game against the Oilers, trying to clear the front of the net, making sure that your goaltender can see the puck. That's the kind of stuff I want to see from them in that frame. And then the other big thing is obviously the power play. I want to see the power play like you and I talked about it. They looked static. They didn't look like they were moving the puck. They were passing the puck plenty. They didn't get enough shots. They weren't trying enough for the greasy goals. Let's see a little bit more of that in these next two games. See them try and take and make and go for a little bit more of a fluid power play, trying to just put shots on net. These are two teams that, with their defensive groups, you should be able to float a few pucks in and get a good look at the net. You might not score on them. You might not score on all of them, but if you're at least giving it the try and trying to move that puck into the slot and get a quick shot in front of the net, it could work out for you. So I want to see both of those things. What about you?
I agree on the power play. Thought they got to work it more into Bo Horvat in the bumper spot. Like that's his bread and butter. He scored so many goals over the past couple years, being on the bumper spot on that first power play unit. Working into him some more. I would say that's big. Obviously, the power play in general. I want to see him work towards having a better overall power play unit for the first and second power play unit. And I don't think discipline. They showed enough discipline, I think, in that Edmonton game, right? They only took 2 penalties, but that Oilers power play is just so good. They scored on one of them. So I don't think discipline is that big of an issue right now for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know what the Philadelphia Flyers power play situation is like, but I bet you it's not as good as Edmonton's. And I know Detroit's isn't as good as Edmonton's. So I don't think, discipline will be that big of an issue. I'm interested to see, some of the forward depth, strutting their stuff. I want to see a big game from guys like Vasily Podkolzin. I'm interested to see if Niels Höglander gets bumped into the lineup. I'm interested to see when Brock Besser gets back into the lineup. He obviously practiced Wednesday morning before the Oilers game. Didn't jump in. We're recording this Friday morning, so before any sort of morning skate would happen in Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting to see if he's on the ice and taking line rushes. If he is taking line rushes, then there's probably a pretty good chance that he's playing in tonight. So I'm interested to see all those things.
It's noon in Philly. It's nearly noon in Philly. They might have taken more in the skate by now.
I forgot time zones are a thing.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta factor in the time zones. It's we'll see when they get on the ice if they have or not already. But yeah, I believe that. Oh yeah, there it is. Sure enough, 11 minutes ago from the Canucks Twitter, there's some shots of the Canucks in practice. So we might get some lineup. We might get some warm up. Line rushes here. Oh, here you go. Oh, you know what? Here you go. So you got Pearson, Horvat, Garland, Miller, Pettersson, Podkolzin. There you go.
Nice. First line pods.
First line pods. Highmore, Dickinson, and Höglander on the third, and Dowling, Lamico, and Chiasson on the fourth, with the defensive
Travis
pairings.
Green listens to the podcast. He is obviously already sick of Chiasson's shit.
He listens to the podcast. OEL and Myers, Hughes, Pullman, Rathbone, Burrows, and Hunt, Shen.
Yeah, no surprises, I think, on the defensive end.
Yeah, Besser and Patan are extras, so it does not look like Besser will probably play today. He's maybe Saturday. You hope Saturday.
And then get Patan in the lineup. He's gonna fix the power play. I'm telling you.
If Chiasson couldn't, I don't think he is.
Again, you just gotta use Patan in the Sam Gagner role. We've discussed this on this podcast before. Fourth line, sheltered minutes. Get him on the second power play unit. Get him to do it. Let him do his thing. Let Patan cook.
Let Patan cook. Oh man, we're gonna be in like the Stanley Cup final. Canucks are gonna make it all the way to the Cup finals, and you'll be like, yeah, but what about Nick Patan? Why hasn't Nick Patan?
You know what? If they're in the Stanley Cup finals, it's because they got to their senses and put Nick Patan in the lineup. That's why they'd be in the Stanley Cup
final. You know what? In total, like it would be total Canuck logic where it's like, he gets into the lineup like game 82. He scores the goal that gets them into the playoffs, and they just don't play him again.
Nick Patan, Conn Smythe candidate. I'm calling it now.
All right. Okay. That's probably the hottest take of the year. Sure.
I'm pumping this guy's tires so much they might burst.
You're going to be his agent. You're going to be his agent by the end of the season.
I think I'd be down for it. I think I can hype him up. I've done a good enough job, I think, on this podcast. I think I do it to a few NHL GMs.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
But no, I think for a successful weekend against the Flyers and the Red Wings for the Canucks, I think you get a split of points, 2 out of 4. That is always a good idea. Always, in my opinion, it's always good if you get a 500 split. Split the points on the road, try and win as many as you can at home. That's just the general logic I go by. You get 3 out of 4. That's pretty good. Obviously, 4 out of 4 points is even better. I think if I'm going to make a prediction, I think this game against the Flyers, especially tonight, is going to be tight. These seem like two very evenly matched teams, like we've talked about a bit earlier.
Yeah, that for sure. Agree with that 100%. I think again, 2 good tests for the Canucks, 2 good early season tests. Let's see them come out of this road trip. They have the opportunity to go above, to try and still take that, above 500, try and go above 500 with getting the 1 point out of the Oilers game. Let's see, they've got 5 more that by the end of this road trip, they'll be halfway through. Let's see them try and hit that 7-point threshold. Let's see if they can get to that 7-point threshold, because that constitutes a pretty good road trip.
Yeah, absolutely. But that has it for today's episode of Locked On Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. And make sure your second listen of the day is Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Scott Cullen leans on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. Once again, my name is Nick Bondi. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Bondi. You can follow Lachlan Irvin at Lock in the Crease on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have full video episodes out every day we do the podcast. Thank you for listening.